Welcome to the Soul Science Nutrition Podcast, where you'll discover that when it comes to your health, you're so much more powerful than you've been led to believe. And now, your host. She's a holistic nutrition and lifestyle coach, chef, author, and yogi, Christine O'Casey.
Hello, and welcome to Soul Science Nutrition. I'm Christine O'Casey. Thanks so much for tuning in today. On today's episode, we are diving deep into energy clearing, energy healing. We have a wonderful guest, Jill Leigh. She's the founder and director of the Energy Healing Institute. Jill has been an energy practitioner and teacher for almost 30 years. Jill and I met about a year and a half ago when I enrolled in her energy practitioner program. And what I love about her practice is that it is a very embodied, chakra-based, systems-based approach to energy healing. My journey to explore energy healing came about quite naturally, really, because as we're working with food and weight-related health challenges, working at the level of emotions and behavior and physiology, you come to know pretty quickly that there's a human energy component that's involved. And so I became extremely interested in learning how to leverage what I knew was taking place in this mind-body interaction. You see, because when it comes right down to it, when we talk about creating lasting health, we're always looking to evolve longstanding patterns, things that we want to change, things that we want to shift and evolve. And what do we talk about on Soul Science Nutrition is, of course, that understanding that any kind of behavior or physical symptom in the body has its roots in what we're feeling, thinking, and believing. In other words, the energy precedes the physicality. Tools for energy clearing are essentially tools for moving the emotions that are stuck, that are blocking the natural flow in our body. So energy clearing, as we'll learn today, requires owning and acknowledging the energy that created the experience that we want to change. Jill is going to share some powerful tools and practices to help you clear the patterns and resolve issues in your health at the root cause. Because being aware or having a cognitive understanding of our habits is sometimes not enough to keep us from repeating it or falling back into those unwanted behaviors or reactivity. Jill and I will talk about how working with the chakras and the aura is the missing piece. Okay, hello, Jill, and welcome to Soul Science Nutrition. How are you?
I'm great, Christine. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm so glad to have you here today and jump into conversation about one of my favorite areas of giving people tools to change their lives, which is energy healing.
Indeed. I love that too.
So, one of the things that I love about your approach and the work we've done together and my learning from you is the foundational piece of working at root cause, right? Because for a lot of people who might not know too much about energy clearing work is that it works at the root cause of both physical and emotional health challenges, right?
Yes, it totally does. And so many times people, when they get aligned and integrated into that idea of root cause, they start to understand that nothing is set in stone, that they can have long-standing patterns, long-standing ways of operating that they can actually affect and move through. And in some cases, I even find it's really great when people have done all the therapeutic work and they figure out, oh, I keep marrying my mother, or I keep, dating that same guy over and over and over again, same behavioral characteristics, that now they get it, but they can't change the behavior. And when they learn how to do the energy work, that's how the behavior can really shift as they incrementally chip away at the tendency to move towards what they no longer want to be doing.
Yes, so you mentioned incrementally chip away, which suggests there's a process involved. So a lot of people come to me and ask, well, is it like Reiki? Just get on a table and then something happens to me? And someone comes to you and says, I've tried everything. I've been in therapy, I've seen a lot of wonderful practitioners and doctors of all kinds, but I still have X. So walk me through, how do you get people to get comfortable? Let's say they come in with a metabolic challenge. Let's say they've got an autoimmune disease, a health issue that's presenting on a physical level.
Yeah, so I actually have done so much work with autoimmune stuff over time. And really, I consider autoimmune largely an energetic problem. The body is not in relation to itself in a certain kind of way. And there's almost always, in fact, I've never seen an autoimmune situation that doesn't have an emotional tie that is actually feeding that autoimmune scenario. And so I always take a pretty comprehensive case so that I understand what they're experiencing. Did they get a diagnosis? What are the symptoms? What kinds of challenges they're running up against in their lives that are emotionally based? Mm-hmm. Where are they in some way stuck? Where are they in some kind of a way flowing consistently in a pattern that doesn't really support who they are or what they want to be or how they want to live? And we get to that pretty quickly. And then I start connecting the dots together, because when I work with energy, I'm working in the chakra system, I'm working in the aura, and I'm really working in two different bodies. I'm working in the astral body, which is the emotional body, and I'm also working in the etheric body, which is the energy system for the physical body. And when I see the emotional patterns starting to emerge, and what their energy body, their astral, their emotional energy body is doing, I can then trace what's going on down to the physical body. And in so many cases, there's a really large amount of emotional content that the client doesn't want to experience, either because it frightens them or because they've been conditioned to know that certain emotions are bad or wrong, and they repress those emotions. They somatize that emotional energy down into the physical body. Once it's in the physical body, it's stuck in that energy system. So if you think about the chakras in the emotional body, most people know about those 7 chakras and the 7 layers of the aura, and that's a chakra system most people are familiar with. But when you start looking at the etheric body, you're looking at 7 primary chakras, you're looking at thousands of minor or secondary chakras, and then you're looking at a very dense, compact aura, and then these little tiny energy channels called nadis, along with major energy channels called the Ida and the Pingala and the Sushumna. Mm-hmm. And all of that stuff, all of that energy system, when it gets bogged down with emotional energy that doesn't belong in it monkeys up the works, it creates problems. Mm-hmm. So when we can work on what the emotional patterns are, we can do, I call it stopping the madness. We stop sending energy down into the physical body, and the physical body can start to restore and regenerate and run the way it's supposed to run. Mm-hmm. And so looking at the case, I often end up in a situation where I'm actually teaching clients how to work with their emotional energy body, how to let go of patterns, how to acknowledge and own the emotions that they find difficult or challenging or scary, and then release them instead of suppressing them. And if they can learn to release that emotional energy, then they free up their body and they let their body do what it's supposed to do. And they validate themselves and their emotional awareness so that they understand that all emotions are valid, all emotions are relevant, they're feedback, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a really empowering thing to begin to work with energy, because when you teach the client how to work with their own energy, they start to get very facile at understanding where they are in space and time, what's running them, and what they'd actually like to run.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. There's such an empowering component, that self-empowering component that comes with doing this work. There's such a therapeutic component to validating ourselves and our emotional awareness. And as you said, this process allows the body to do what it's designed to do, to run the way it's supposed to run. So I love that. So, one of the things you'll hear on the introduction of the show that I say in my tagline is that you're so much more powerful than you've been led to believe. Right? Yeah. So you use the term sovereignty and self-authority a lot when you teach. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. Well, the energy system that I've taught for almost 30 years is predicated first and foremost on sovereignty, that you're the boss of you, and that you are really the person who has not just the decision-making power, but truly the authority to say, yes, this works for me, or no, it doesn't. And so when intentionality and authority are brought together, then a person can say, I am choosing to love myself, or to treat myself with respect, or to attract people into my life who resonate with my beliefs and my values. We're not victims. We're not stuck with anything we might have consciously or unconsciously created. And so when we really acknowledge and understand that as sovereign beings, we every minute of every day are choosing how we're engaging in our lives, then we can start to work very consciously towards creating what we do want. And we do have, especially when we start to learn how to work with our energy, we do gain that authority and that agency to make changes.
That's huge, because so much of what happens when we're faced with life challenges, emotional, physical challenges, is it's a very disempowering mindset that really takes over. We feel like we've tried so much. Life is so hard. I'm here again. And there's a lot of shame. And I pick on shame because we know that it can cause so much suffering in the body. Certainly emotionally, it's associated with addiction, depression, anxiety, particularly when it comes to our food and weight and health-related issues. There's so much stuckness in the shame that leads to the self-sabotage. And to your point, when it's internalized, it causes this prolonged stress in the body and clearly has a effect on our physical health. So what's your go-to for helping folks release that negative emotion of shame?
Well, I have two favorite things, and I like to work with them together. So one of the things that's helpful to understand about energy is that we're all pretty porous energetically. And so energy comes and goes from our body, and it's supposed to, from our emotional body, from our physical body. It's supposed to come and go. But what we're not supposed to do is take on other people's emotions. And yet, if we have an emotional pattern, for example, you mentioned shame, but pick any other emotion, anxiety, fear, self-loathing, doesn't matter. If that is the emotion that we tend to carry around with us, then when we're out in the field, out in the world, then we tend to attract that emotion from other people into our bodies. And the problem is, once we've taken on someone else's shame, we can't say, oh, that's Barbara's shame or that's Fred's shame. We think it's our own. So when we start to work with these difficult emotions, the first thing I like to teach people is how to discern what's theirs and then how to let go of what's not theirs. And then secondarily, I like to teach them how to release what is theirs. Because they really can't make it, I can't clear Fred's shame or Barbara's shame from my field. That's right. It's not mine, right? So the first skill I like to think about is, I call it mine, not mine. Tuning into your energy body. And most of the time, shame, you're going to find it in the second chakra, which is 2 fingers below the navel. the seat of the emotions. Might find it in the first chakra, between the ovaries in women and at the base of the spine in men. So I like to sort of acknowledge, okay, that's probably where it's hanging out in my energy field. And then I think about my aura, which surrounds my physical body and extends about 3.5 feet in all directions, out in front of me, behind me, above my head, below my feet. And I imagine a flower that I put up out in space beyond the edge of my energy field. And I go about 12 inches past my energy field. So if my field is 3 feet out in front of me, the flower is 4 feet out in front of me. And I just say hello to that shame. And I literally say, hello, shame, but I say it silently. And then I direct that shame to leave my first and my second chakra and move out onto the flower. And mostly there's nothing to really see. It's just kind of like little black specks of energy, if you were to see anything at all. Mm-hmm. But what people feel is the releasing of this energy out onto the flower. So they feel the space that's getting created in their body, or they have some sense of movement of energy. And then I have my clients put up a second flower, about 12 inches to the right of the first flower, to the left, doesn't matter, and very clearly direct that all of the shame that does not belong to them moves onto the second flower. So now what they're doing is they're saying, okay, the shame on the first flower, that belongs to me. The shame on the second flower belongs to somebody else. And you don't have to know who. It could be a whole bunch of people. And you imagine that you can pick up that second flower and hand it back. Not mine. Not mine. So freeing for these difficult emotions to realize that a lot of what you're feeling when you're feeling shame doesn't even belong to you in the first place.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, what a relief, right?
That's huge.
And that applies for anxiety. It applies for depression. It implies any emotion. You can have emotional energy that's somebody else's and give it back.
Yes.
So then you take that first flower and you bring the energy back into your field, because now we're going to clear it out. Mm. And you imagine that you can create basically a bamboo pole. They're nice and hollow. And they start at the very top of your head, go all the way down to your first chakra, right in front of your spine. So you have your spine, you have this imaginary bamboo pole, and in front of that, you have your chakras. Mm-hmm. And you imagine that those chakras have a back door, because they do. And you say hello to the shame in the first chakra, and you direct it out of that first chakra into the bamboo pole. Gravity takes over, pulls the energy down into the earth for recycling. Mm-hmm. And you can do this for long periods of time, but if you don't have a lot of time, you can do it for 2 or 3 minutes and really move the needle on what you're holding.
Okay.
And then you repeat the process in your second chakra. And then when you're all done clearing that shame, you bring a big ball of golden cosmic energy down from above your head into your crown chakra at the top of your head, into the bamboo pole, and you flush it all away. And your energy has been released. That shame energy has been released. You've refilled your chakras with this gorgeous golden energy, and you're shifting out of the shame pattern. So the more you do it, the faster you'll release the shame you've been carrying, and then you can pick up feeling something else, like self-acceptance or self-love or compassion. Any number of lovely things.
Oh my gosh, that's so powerful. And the process I know is iterative. In other words, this is kind of a maintenance protocol or skill to work with, right?
Yes. Yeah. In fact, with the emotions that are patterns of ours, and I sometimes will call it a project, so that you're working on it consistently, and you're saying to yourself, I don't have to do it this way. I can receive myself with compassion, and I can let go of the shame. Because in truth, from an energy perspective, shame is one of the lowest vibrating emotional energies you can carry.
Yes.
So the more you let go of shame, the higher your vibration becomes, and the more you resonate into more joyous experiences.
That's so beautiful. Yeah. So it's a two-step. It's recognizing what belongs to us and honoring the feeling that's there. But in order to work on it, we have to make sure that we're in that state where we're just working on, we're focusing our attention on what we can release and replace, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because, yeah, you talk a lot about boundaries, which is another component that gets in the way with a lot of folks who are trying to, do work-life balance everything, and then certainly their physical well-being. We tend to do martyrdom pretty well as women,
Yes.
which goes along with another heavy emotion of guilt, right? How do you teach people to set their boundaries? But again, what's so fascinating about energy work is that, to me, it's the bridge between the psychological and the physiological. Right?
Yeah.
Because we have the awareness in our cognitive mind to say, oh, it's guilt. But then we have the physiological, which might be heaviness or autoimmunity or metabolic issues. And we certainly have the health derailing behaviors that come with us. We're not being able to express or resolve those negative emotions in the body. So, for example, if I'm working with an issue like martyrdom, which is a prevalent struggle in the work that I do, energy work just allows you to go so much deeper, which accelerates the change process and all the lasting benefits that come as a result of working at this new level of self-awareness.
Yeah, and it's always interesting to me to hear people say, "Well, I have really good boundaries." A lot of times, I find this with with people who are in the helping professions, who like therapists, for example, who have really clear professional boundaries. They know where they belong in their lives and in their practices, and yet their energy boundaries might not be as clear. And that's so true for women in general, because we're sort of raised to think about taking care of other people and nurturing other people and all of those things. And yet that's not really our job. Maybe for our children, sure. But we're not really put on this planet to nurture every single person who comes down the pike, right? And especially when we think about sovereignty. Right?
Yes.
That is a total lack of sovereignty. If my role is to take care of everybody else, where's the sovereignty in that? So we already know that that's an imposed belief, that's an imposed program that says this is what women need to do. So with energy boundaries, there's two major things that I find really useful, and I could throw a third one in pretty easily. But one of the most important things to do is to monitor your second chakra. So the second chakra, 2 fingers below the navel, is the seat of the emotions. And as women have been sort of programmed to be nurturers to other people and, end up in that, well, I'll do it, but okay, that whole martyrdom thing. And then all those behaviors that, follow on from that.
Yes.
The way we figure out what everybody else needs is through our second chakra. And what we do is we open it so wide that we are feeling everybody else's stuff. And to feel their stuff, we have to move our stuff to the side, our own emotions to the side, so that we can feel everybody else's. And all of that energy and that emotion comes flooding into our energy body, and then we take action to essentially make it stop. So if you think in terms of the chakras having openings, in fact, if you Google Hindu chakra images, you'll see round discs with petals around the outside of that disc. Well, the petals are the openings of the chakras. So if you think in terms of, and I bet most of us have a vegetable steamer in our kitchen cupboards. If you take out your vegetable steamer and you open up the petals wide to make broccoli, that's like having a wide open chakra. Those petals are wide open. If you close the petals down to put that vegetable steamer back in your cupboard or in your drawer, you're doing that to take up less space, in the drawer, but you're also containing that steamer, right? You're containing the petals of that steamer. Containing your second chakra energy by closing the vegetable steamer petals is a really good plan. Now, the problem with it is that, again, energy is iterative. Clearing energy is iterative. Moving your energy regulation is iterative. So if you only close your second chakra once in a while, it never learns, So, I tell people to think in terms of having a brand new puppy, and you don't want it to pee in your house, right? You take it out every hour on the hour with little biscuits, and when the little puppy pees, you give it a biscuit and you say, good dog. And in a couple of weeks, that dog has learned that you pee outside, not inside. So if you learn to close that second chakra down and you do it repeatedly, you will train it not to take on everybody else's stuff. And therefore, you will not be compelled to manage everybody's experience.
Yes.
The other skill that's really useful is to set your energy boundaries on the outside, in the aura. So you have 7 layers in your aura, and they should have a boundary that's kind of like cheesecloth or pantyhose or something. Energy can come and go, but the layer itself is contained. And so if you think about containing your energy field, what you're doing in setting your auric boundaries is you're creating boundaries on the 7 layers of your aura so that you own your space. A lot of times we just merge with other people, and that's how we end up solving their problems. The second chakra is a merging machine, and the aura can be a merging machine. So when you've merged with somebody else, you're now in their experience, and it's going to make you uncomfortable to not manage what's happening because you're in their stuff, and that's not fun.
Yes.
So imagining a lever up above your head that you can just pull down like you were, a slot machine lever, right? You pull that down, and your energy boundaries sort of drop down out of this magical machine over your head, and they contain your field. And when people start to work with this, they really get the difference between when their energy is held appropriately and when they're sort of loosey-goosey and awash in other people's stuff. And as they contain their energy, closing that second chakra, putting their auric boundaries in place, you start to learn this fabulous, amazing phrase. And it sounds like this: gee, I understand that's a problem for you. What are you doing to solve it for yourself?
Oh, that's gold. That is gold. I love that. I love that. Wow. Okay. So we got to work that script and burn that into our psyche and make that the default operating mode, right?
And I'm sure you work with your clients a lot who, when they have these behaviors where maybe they're emotionally eating or they're doing things to manage their discomfort around how much of their energy and physical experience is tied up in doing things for others.
Yes.
So if they can start to recognize, I'm heading towards the fridge, and stop. Who am I caretaking? Whose energy am I running right now?
Whose energy am I running right now? Yes, being more discerning. Now, all of this, which is why I know it's so powerful, is that it has to deal with working and moving through life at a higher level of awareness. a
Yes.
very conscious awareness in our everyday, right? And being tuned in to the little pings that we get throughout the day that are trying to get our attention. Like we're off course, we're merging our emotions, we're taking on something that doesn't belong to us, right? So heightening our conscious awareness comes with the practice of using these tools. But also, what is your best way of getting people to step out of the chaos in their lives so that they can come into this place of awareness and do this work, to do this hygienic work, right?
Yes.
So what's that first step?
I always think the first step is grounding.
Okay.
When we're in the chaos, when we're in the mishigas of all of the stuff that's going on around us, we can lose our center pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you ground, what we're doing is we're bringing our awareness into this moment, right here, right now. And a lot of times, when you start to be engaging your observer, you start to realize the places where you're not in this moment at all. You're in the grocery store at 4:00, except it's 1:00 right now.
Yes.
Or you're thinking about what you're going to do tomorrow to manage your day and still get the kid to, soccer practice or whatever's going on.
Yes.
Right here, right now is really the moment that we have where we can actually make something happen.
Yes.
So grounding starts in the first chakra, which is between the ovaries in women and the base of the spine in men, and creating a ball of energy that is as wide as our hips. So many times over the years in client practice, I've seen men and women with these skinny little grounding cords. And I think about, gosh, I could push this person right over because they just don't have an anchoring in their body, right? And it's really their emotions that could be pushed over. So I could frown at them and give them a dirty look and completely knock them off their game, right? So with a nice grounding cord that's as wide as your hips, there is an energy connection between you and the earth. Because as you drop this ball of energy, you just let it fall from the first chakra, we have gravity taking over and sending that ball of energy in a cord all the way down to the center of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
All the way to the center of the earth. That's kind of deep, right?
Okay.
And so when we ground like that, we bring our emotional awareness into right here, right now, in a really connected, planted way. And then if I give you a dirty look and you've got this nice big grounding cord, you might look at me and say, is something wrong? Versus, did I do something? Yeah. Right? And is there a reason you're looking at me that way?
Amazing.
Right? So once you have grounded, then you can start to notice and observe what's happening around you and respond to it rather than react.
Responding versus reacting. So again, more self-empowerment, more ability to navigate with, above the drama and the chaos and the stress. I love that. Now, there are a lot of beliefs, though, I think, as you mentioned, that get in the way of us taking the time to do this. For example, if you are, prone to martyrdom and overcaring in our lives, there's a belief there, right? That in order for me to be productive, and in order to me to be who I am, I need to take care of everybody else first, and then I'll deal with myself, if that. How do you work with the chakra system to release those limiting beliefs? I'm not enough, right? Life is hard. It works for other people, but not for me, etc.
Well, again, observation is step one, right? So we have to know we have those beliefs. We have to hear both our inner dialogue and what we say on the outside. When in my practice, grounding, when you've mastered grounding, it takes a second and a half. So when people would come into my practice and they'd be sort of all, whiffy and all over the place.
Yes.
I'd say, gee, how's it going with your grounding practice? Oh, well, I remember grounding a week ago, but I've been so busy. And I will very gently say, yeah, that second and a half is hard to find, isn't
it? Jill. Yeah.
So,
Right. Yeah.
so acknowledging, okay, I have to attend to these things so that I can hear myself. I can hear myself with what I say, and I can hear myself with what I think. And when you start noticing those beliefs, I'm not enough, if I don't take care of other people, I don't exist, all of those kinds of beliefs, I always like to encourage people to choose an antidote.
Okay.
So I'm not enough becomes I am enough. I am more than enough,
Yeah.
And I am no one if I am not taking care of others. I am living through my self-care. And I choose from there what I engage in, right? So the antidote has to be planted in awareness. And I like them to be simple statements. I like them to be I am statements.
Yes.
Because I want to be reminds me of the donkey with the stick and the carrot on the end. That poor creature will walk all day long towards that carrot and never get it. But if you give the donkey the carrot and say, here you go, it's internalized, right?
Yes.
It's going to eat it and it's going to say, that was great. So the I am statement is a right here, right now. I am enough. I am self-contained and self-aware and self-responsible. So the antidote and the intentionality allows you to then notice when you're in the dysfunctional thinking, the misaligned thinking.
Yes.
And then you can shift your awareness.
So once again, our point of change, our greatest ability to change has to come from that grounded, centered place.
Yes.
So when all else fails and you can't figure things out, we have to remember, wait, I need to change the radio station. In order for me to do that, I need to find my center. I need to be here right now in this moment. Yes. We find ourselves time traveling all the time. It's just what I say, it's just what minds do, But again, the beauty and the power that comes with these tools is you're taking your power back, right? Anybody can do this. Is that right?
Absolutely. In fact, sometimes people will say to me, well, I can't visualize. And I say, that really doesn't matter. The visuals are simply a metaphor to give you access to an energy. But the words, create a ball of energy, let the ball drop and form a chord. The words themselves are the energy of moving into grounding. So you don't have to see it. You don't have to be a magician. You simply have to attend to the process and acknowledge what it is you're doing. I am grounding. And then you bring yourself into that energy. And honestly, they're all metaphors, right? All these visualizations are metaphors. When you find the energy of grounding, you don't need the green ball. You don't need anything. You embody the energy of grounding. You embody the energy of self-containment. You embody the energy of self-love instead of guilt or shame. So it's really about moving yourself into a place where you recognize who you are in those states of awareness, and you be that. So it's always about evolving who you are.
Yes. Higher and higher states of awareness. I love that. Yeah. I mean, and that really is kind of our evolution, isn't it? Right?
Yes.
We're trying to move up using the chakra system as the map. We're trying to move and elevate ourselves up beyond our basic survival and needs and animal or primal instincts, right? To operate life from the higher centers, from a place of conscious awareness, using our intuition. Can you talk to us about our intuition? All spiritual or contemplative practices are geared towards cultivating this state of neutrality. Tell me how working with that neutrality is a core piece in our everyday self-care, and how it works with intuition.
When someone is in a state of neutrality, they're with what is. They're not in judgment. They're not in planfulness to get around whatever it is that's going on. They're saying, okay, this is what is, and from here I can choose. And so neutrality, one of the things I love about energy work was, and I remember this as clearly as if it was yesterday, when I learned that the energy of the cosmos is a field of potentiality and a field of neutrality. That is what it is. And so everything is possible in the cosmic field, and it's simply an energy that is awaiting form, right? And so it doesn't have that's a bad idea or that's a good idea. It's simply potentiality awaiting expression. So when you need to find neutrality, you got your knickers in a knot about something, which, is part of our human condition, right?
Yes.
It can be really lovely to say, wait a minute, I want to take a step back from all the reactivity, all the judgment, all the emotion I'm running around this right now, and find some neutrality. And you can bring your awareness to your crown chakra. And you remember I had us bring a ball of golden cosmic energy in to release the bamboo pole. You can bring a ball of golden cosmic energy into your crown chakra and let it rest in the crown. And it's like a flow state. So it'll just sort of come in and fill up your crown, and you'll move into neutrality. Your body will start to resonate with that neutral energy of the cosmic field.
Beautiful.
And you've stepped out of all the stuff, and you're now in, this is where I'm finding myself right now. How will I respond? So sometimes people use their intuition without the neutrality. So they've decided it's something, right? This is a bad thing. My intuition tells me to run in the other direction, right? Or to attack, or to whatever.
Yes.
In fact, your intuition is in reaction to the state of mind that you're sitting in.
Oh, beautiful.
If you move into neutrality and then say, now, what is being called for here within myself? Your intuition is going to be aligned with that neutrality, and it will move you in a direction. You'll have an idea, a thought. You may have no idea, which means I shouldn't do anything right now. My intuition says do nothing and wait. Right? Yeah. So that neutrality on the front end of intuition brings us into a much greater state of alignment and balance and capacity to do what is actually most harmonious and most right. And as I often say, the next right thing.
Yes. Oh, that's so important. I love that because, again, it's really, especially when it comes to changing unwanted behaviors, for example, or making big decisions about to do something different. We're always in some degree of reactivity. And I think what I'm hearing is that the goal of these tools is to minimize as much as we can that reactivity, if you will, to come from a wiser, more intelligent state in ourselves. Yes. Almost a curious, because when we're curious, we're not judging. We're not, have to know now, right? But we're also owning it. What I'm hearing is with the neutrality, there's really some compassion. It's like, okay, well, yeah, this is here. I'm just going to allow it to be here right now because it is, right? There's this investigation that goes on, right? That says, okay, what is this energy in telling me right now? Right. And, it's like, what is most needed right now? And I love these tools because they embrace, once again, the nature of our stuckness, of these patterns, of these unexpressed, unresolved, emotional, and now physical patterns are energetic in nature. So yes, we need the psychological, cognitive exploration of our patterns and the behaviors that we want to shift. But at the end of the day, the process that's often overlooked that can readily accelerate the healing and the transformation is this emotional, energetic clearing work. Because even when we're operating with the best of intentions, trying to figure stuff out, trying to understand within our thinking mind, we're not operating at that higher level of awareness that you're talking about, that important formula of intuition plus neutrality, operating from that higher state of awareness to get the results we're looking for.
It reminds me of the formula for manifestation. That there's this intentionality and your attention and energy. Those three things, intention plus attention plus energy equals manifestation, right?
Yes.
So if we're all just in the cognitive, we're just in the brain chatter, then we don't even really have our attention. We just have, mental soup that we're creating.
Yeah, exercises.
Yes, exactly. And so when we can take that step back, find that neutrality, put our intention on, okay, this is what is, and what do I want to do? Where do I want to go with this? What is being called for here? Which is the intentionality, and the intuition moves through that. And your energy is wrapped around, this is what is, what am I calling? What am I asking for here? Then the answer comes.
And then the answer comes. And again, using what you're saying, that flow state, right? Energy is supposed to flow. That is the natural state of healing and repair, right?
Yes.
And where are we blocking it? Where are we cut off from that flow, right?
Yes.
The understanding with when it comes to energy healing and energy clearing is that, we're working on the blockages.
Yep.
Right?
Exactly. It's one of the expressions I've used for years is that when energy is flowing, you are growing. Right? And when it's blocked, when it's stuck in some way, you can't grow, you can't shift, you can't evolve, you can't heal. So that's where we began this conversation talking about energy being root cause. If there's a place that you're stuck in your life in any way, shape, or form, there's an energy problem, period, the end. Get the energy moving and the problem can move too, right?
Yes.
But when we're in all that churn, that mental churn, we're not actually using our energy. We're using our little monkey minds, but we're like hamsters on a wheel, right? They're not going anywhere. They're running like crazy, but they're not going anywhere.
And it's the biggest problem. I don't know about you, but to me, it's the biggest complaint that I hear. I mean, it comes out in the language, in fatigue, and I have no energy. I'm so exhausted all the time, right? I'm run down. I feel so heavy. I'm stuck. I don't know. I can't get anything done, right? No matter how much I want to, I just can't seem to do this, right?
Yeah.
It's really very telling. It's a reflection of what's really going on. No, it's huge.
It really is.
I love that. What's a myth or a misunderstanding that you are very passionate about making sure people don't get caught up in?
Yeah. I think one of the main things that I think about a lot is how to help people understand that energy, working with energy, is a spiritual form for evolving, but it has to be anchored deeply in the body. Yes. So a lot of people will bypass their stuff by running straight to an energy healer and saying, please get rid of this for me. And that's actually not practical. It's not going to work, first of all, because if you're just trying to avoid it, what we resist persists, right? So
yes.
There's this sense sometimes that I see that people are sort of airy-fairy and sort of all up above their heads with this, I'm a spiritual person.
Yeah.
But if they aren't anchoring that down into their bodies, then they're actually disconnected from both themselves and their relationship to their spirituality and to God or the cosmos or source or whatever you want to call it. And so one of the things that I work with all the time is making sure that everything I bring to my clients, to my students, through whatever marketing I do, is an embodied sense of you have to do this work from within yourself. You can't be outside of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say that's probably one of my deepest passions, is getting people out of my mother used to say, too heavenly minded to be any earthly good.
That hits it. Absolutely. That really does. Yeah. And it's usually, one extreme or the other, but we're always looking for that balance. We're either up in here, caught in our busy mind, trying to figure stuff out, or like you said, we're just out, we're just allowing and we're going to meditate everything away. And, it has to be, because that's the way we're designed, right? And that's the whole beauty of working with the chakra system and that energetic anatomy, is that we're in these physical bodies for a reason, right? And it's how we're designed. So the question is, I always think of it as like an instrument, and like our fingers are the keyboards to our nadis, and, our breath is working with, our vagus nerve and, and all of that. I mean, it's this beautiful design. So I always feel like the greater awareness that we have for the miracle that we have to work with, in all aspects of our lives, right? The more fulfilling and healthy experience we can have.
Yes.
So there's an understanding that goes with the work. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So it's beautiful. What are you curious about as you move into this new reality? And
I think I'm curious to see what is going to happen as we embrace our similarities rather than our differences. And I really think that it's just such an enormous opportunity right now for us to plug in and really see that we have so much more in common than we do that separates and divides us. And everything I'm doing these days is really about bringing that idea ever more into conscious awareness. I've got a blog post 3/4 written right now about this, this COVID and Black Lives Matter convergence, and how we've had to be very careful about being asymptomatic carriers of COVID. And where so many people are asymptomatic carriers of racism.
Oh my God, that's gold. Amazing. Yes. Okay. Well, thank you. So you've got a few things coming up online.
Lots of things. Yeah. Well, of course, I have a ton of online courses, and so people can access any of those things if they want to start learning about energy. The clearing skills I shared today are in a course called Clear. Excellent. And that's a really great course for starting to learn how to take that authority with your energy and really own your experience and resolve the patterns through clearing skills. So that's always a really great place to start. And of course, the free course that I offer, the Present of Presence, gets people anchored into the chakra system in the aura to begin with.
The work that you do to help people come into a more empowered sense, a more grounded sense, a more compassionate sense of themselves and how they want to move through life, to me is absolutely the most important work right now, to be honest with you, that's out there. People need this more than ever. It's been a joy to talk to you, and everybody knows we can find you at your website.
energyhealinginstitute.org.
Yes. Thank you so much, Jill. It's been a real pleasure and a gift to have you here
It's been
today.
great to be here, Christine. Thank you so much for having me.